Hello and welcome to Mad About Film. Today I'm going to talk about If Beale Street Could Talk, the new film by Barry Jenkins. Let's have a look at the trailer.
Strumming my pain with his fingers.
You ready for this?
Singing my life with his words.
I've never been more ready for anything in my whole life.
Killing me softly with his song.
We are drinking to new life. Tish gonna have Fonny's baby.
I hope it's a boy.
We're gonna have a baby. I'll have you out of here before then.
You sure about that?
If Beale Street Could Talk is the adaptation of the book by James Baldwin and written and directed by Barry Jenkins, who was famously known for sort of directing Moonlight. I actually watched the film at the Camera Image Festival in November 2018. I saw it with a bunch of DOPs and camera people that I know, and we all had varying perspectives on what we thought about the story. Like Moonlight, Barry Jenkins this time has also gone to the heart of a very emotional and intimate story between a couple in 1960s Harlem in America. Kiki Layne plays Tish and Stephen James plays Fonny Hunt in the film. The main focus of the film is really based around the relationship between Tish and Fonny, and Fonny is an aspiring sculptor and artist, and Tish is basically his girlfriend. You can tell by the opening shots that the scene is set as such, with the relationship kind of being the forefront of the actual film. It's really interesting, and also the colours that really come across in that opening scene are really, really important to the typical movement and pace that's present within the story. The whole idea of the story is about being in love and it's about the relationship, but the thing that kind of throws the spanner in the works for the story is the fact that Fonny actually gets accused of raping a white woman in the 60s, and obviously this is quite a contentious issue for them to obviously have their relationship and for it to carry on normally. Tish's mother Sharon, played by Regina King, is the person who actually kind of takes on the mantle of actually trying to clear Fonny's name so they can have actually a successful relationship together. The last time I saw Regina King was actually in Jerry Maguire, where she played Cuba Gooding Jr.'s wife, and she was really good in that. And in this one, she actually kind of becomes quite a central part of the story. I think Regina King's performance as the mother is really good in this film. It's a really, really good focus. That performance really stands out for me in this particular film. The thing that stands out in the film is really the pace, and the pace of the film is actually relatively slow. It's kind of interesting how the framing and the story and the subtleness of the story is like it's almost like trying to essentially kind of tell the story of the time at a pace that was probably more accepting of the time in terms of films. So maybe Barry Jenkins has actually gone back to a form of filmmaking where the pace and the structure of the story is really, really important, because you have to lay these facts out in front of you, and you have to kind of be, as an audience member, a reasoned judge as to what is the right and the wrong of the situation. Knowing whether Fonny did actually rape the woman or not is a question that never really fully gets answered, but you have to believe in the idea that he didn't. And the pacing of that is realised really, really well. The cinematography in this film is absolutely fantastic. James Laxton is the cinematographer who also did the cinematography for Moonlight, and he's really, really kind of realised the full palette of colours that are available to the lens in 1960s New York. He gets the colour scheme and the palette of the film sort of like really, really sort of brilliant and effervescently kind of like realised. The problem I have with the film is that it is quite slow paced, and also the pacing is so slow at times that you kind of feel slightly inert, like you're not moving from a certain space, and that kind of is the thing that kind of brings the film down. My DOP mate Dave, he actually noticed one thing when we actually did see the film. He did kind of like feel, as a white Caucasian male, kind of slightly sort of polarized on the opinion of the film. He did feel the film itself was a little bit edging towards this is what the white man does and this is what the black man does, and that kind of balance of an argument within a film is a very contentious point of view. You know, if the tone of the book, that the source material that the film derives itself from has that kind of point of view, then fair enough, that's understandable, and maybe Barry Jenkins wants to reflect that. But for the argument and for it to be portrayed on screen to not have such a balanced view it's very polarizing, really. You can't really get away from the race issue in America in the 1960s New York. You know, there's an argument obviously that, obviously ethnic minorities are oppressed, and that's a problem in any society from the 60s right up to present day. But the point is that when you portray it in a film, you have to be careful not to kind of go one way or the other. You need to balance it with a reasoned argument. If that's not the intention of Barry Jenkins, then fair enough, I understand that. But it's also important for the film to have an audience. You need to kind of think about how you present that argument, and I think it is a bit polarized, and that's the problem with the film. That's the problem that Dave, my DOP friend, had with the film, and I think I have to agree with him a little bit. Besides that, the film is really good. The performances from the main two leads, Tish and Fonny, the characters, are really, really powerful, and the idea of love in New York in the 60s between this couple is just beautifully realised with the cinematography done by James Laxton. I think the pacing could be a little bit faster. It could be a bit more succinct as a film, but the problem with the film for me is it erred into sort of like Netflix kind of like, you know, a serial kind of territory, and also, you know, as a coherent one film piece, I'm not sure it kind of definitely works. It probably, for me, felt like it should be like a, you know, 3 or 4 sort of 5-part kind of series on TV. But essentially, the film looks amazing, and actually I really enjoyed the film for what it was, and the soundtrack was fantastic. For me to be absorbed into 1960s New York in Harlem in America was brilliant. So I really enjoyed that as a film. The problem with the film for me is the pace, and for me I feel like it could be tightened up. Even though the film is gorgeous to look at, the soundtrack's really good, and the performances are very, very strong. For me, If Beale Street Could Talk gets 3.5 stars out of 5. Not a bad film by Barry Jenkins for his follow-up to Moonlight, but I think he could do a little bit better by tightening up this particular film. If you enjoyed that film, please like and subscribe and leave some comments down below, and there'll be more videos coming up in the near future. And if you'd like to see another video, just click here.